I went as a participant in NCYC. The first time was in 2011. The second time was 2013.
Obviously, when you're in high school, it's exciting to go on an out-of-state trip, especially on a plane to go. I'd never been to Texas, so that was cool.
I have been to NCYC twice. The first time was in 2009. I went as a youth. I was a senior in high school. We went to Kansas City.
I have been to NCYC 9 times. This coming NCYC will be my 10th NCYC, which is crazy to me that I've gone that many times. The very first time I went to NCYC, I was a junior in high school. It would have been 1993, the fall of 93, and it was in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. I went with my church youth group. There are about 10 of us, I think, that went together. And then since then, I have gone 3 times as a parish youth minister in the Diocese of Pittsburgh, where I took a group of kids from the church where I worked, and then the remaining times as a diocesan director, where I took the large group from the Diocese of Greensburg.
Today we're going to do something a little different. Instead of focusing on the here and now, we're going to look back and ask, where are some of the previous NCYC participants? What are their careers? Where are they working?
I'm in charge of vendor operations in the default sector with a company called ServiceLink.
Sure. Well, I'm the pastor, with, the parish priest of 2 parishes for the last 2 months. So all the ins and outs and daily life of parish, celebrating Mass and sacraments, anointings, baptisms, weddings, funerals.
I am a district manager for the House of Representatives. I essentially work for the member and deal with all of the whereabouts within the district, managing his office and the staff members that work there, his schedule, all things outreach events, so different services or events within the community.
My title is Director of Youth Ministry and Special Events. So I'm currently the Director of Youth Ministry here in the Diocese. And as part of that position, I lead the group that goes to NCYC from our diocese.
And I'm Matt Dowling, small business owner, media consultant, husband, father, Catholic, and my professional career is as a state legislator. I've been going to NCYC for nearly the past 20 years. It's a trip you never forget. So we asked our interviewees, what was their first impression of the National Catholic Youth Conference?
I would just say I was just really impressed, amazed with just the sense of the church that is bigger than just my parish or just my diocese, but there were tens of thousands of kids from all over the country. It was really amazing, and there were a lot of fun activities they had, and we were, being goofy with glasses and hats and pins. And I actually wore my little pin. I dug it out, my pin from 2013 here.
My first impression of NCYC when I was going as a youth was that it was just going to be a monster church retreat.
How the church related to us as Catholics, but also just as teenagers.
For the past several years, NCYC has been in Indianapolis, within bus range, but that wasn't always the case.
That when we all got on a plane and flew to Texas, and it was a really neat experience. I went with my parish, which was Our Lady of Grace at the time.
I honestly, when we first went to NCYC that first year, I had no idea what I was going to. When they advertised at the parish, really it was just a Catholic trip, so I was excited to go somewhere with my friends. I was really excited to stay in a hotel without my parents. I just thought that was just the coolest thing ever, that I was going to be in a hotel room with no parents. But I remember walking in the first time there and being amazed by the environment of the whole place, just to be in an arena with the lights and the music playing, and just to see so many other teenagers.
Every time that they had an NCYC, there was a big group of youth from all over the diocese that went. It was kind of a custom that they would take a big group at that time. So I had heard from friends or from people that had gone before me a little bit about the experience, and just how it was really amazing to bring Catholics together from all over the United States to share their faith, to have talks and prayer time and sessions and just fellowship.
It was very awe-inspiring, I think, that very first time, just to look around and think that, wow, I went from my tiny little church to a place like this where there were so many Catholic young people. It was very overwhelming, but it was also very exciting.
When I went to NCYC for the first time as a youth, as I got there, I was baffled by how large everything was and how many Catholic youths were in one area.
So I would say over the last 9 NCYCs, I've really seen NCYC evolve from a small regional gathering. Probably when I went to Philly it was still East Coast, West Coast. So it wasn't nearly as big. I can't remember the exact numbers, but I would say there were about 5,000 to 7,000 people there, whereas now we get up to upwards of 20,000 young people. And it's amazing to watch how the technology has evolved over the years, where you would be sitting way in the back, and when I was there in the 90s, and you could see the little person on stage that was like this big, whereas now there's screens everywhere in the stadium. You're in the huge stadium in Indiana.
Not only was it outstanding to see all of these people coming in from different parts of the country, but I was actually very amazed with the people from my region, people from my home parishes. There were a lot of kids that went that I didn't even know were Catholic or prayed the same way that I did. And it was very interesting to see how we all came together and took part in everything there was to, between trading, praying, and everything like that. It was very interesting because I think it's a little, whenever you're in high school, it's a little bit taboo to talk about your religion in school. And you probably know that some people go to your church, or you probably know that somebody's Catholic, but you don't see them actually practicing. And I think having that and coming into this stage, this immense stage, it solidifies your faith and it makes you feel that you are not alone.
And my very first moment of NCYC that was transformative to me happened during the Region 3 liturgy. I was a junior in high school, as I said, and a homeless man, we were having liturgy in downtown Philadelphia, and a homeless man walked into the church and walked straight up the center aisle. In this day and age, everybody would have been terrified. In the 90s, we still were a little confused about what was going on, but he literally came up to the front and sat down at the foot of the altar and participated in liturgy. I will never forget being both scared and nervous, but also thinking how loving our God is, that all are welcome, and no one did anything to make the man leave at that point. And he was able to participate in liturgy with us. And it was just such a moment for me to see that God loved us no matter where we were from, who we were, where we were coming from. And it was a moment I'll never forget. And I think that's one of the reasons that those region liturgies are so special to me, because I'm always brought back to that moment. It's the start of NCYC. Every conference we start with that Region 3 liturgy. And to know that, it was such a life-changing moment for me. And every year when we sit in that Region 3 liturgy, I'm brought to that moment, and that reminder of how God loves us no matter who we are, where we are in our lives, or what we're doing, that He always loves us, and He loves us for who we are.
No question. For those who have attended NCYC, myself included, the initial experience is awe-inspiring. But does that experience translate to something larger? Is NCYC life-changing?
It has increased my faith and affected my decisions.
I would definitely say that my experience with NCYC has influenced my faith. It definitely made it stronger. Each time that I've gone to NCYC, I've come back with this sort of revamped excitement. It's basically an excitement about Catholicism in church and practicing and praying, and just a whole new outlook on Jesus and His Word.
I would say that NCYC did have an impact on my life and my personality, in the sense of just being in a place of deepening faith. In high school, I was really involved in my faith. I went to GCC, so I was real involved in faith there, and choirs and different things. But also, I was in my parish choir. I was in the parish youth group. I was an altar server. They did some music things with the teens, so I was really involved in my parish, and it was just a way to delve even deeper into the life of faith. For me, which formed me into who I am, and like I said earlier, at that time the idea of being a priest was in the back of my mind. It wasn't at the forefront, but certainly that spiritual experience, I think, did help to for me and to who I am, and especially give me a sense of the church, which is just so much bigger than our parish or our diocese. And to see so many young people really was a powerful testament to the faith and the church, which is alive.
I think that NCYC has had a huge impact on me, both personally, spiritually, and professionally. I think when I first started, I had no idea what an influence it would have on me later in life. When you get there, you have no idea what it means to be a young Catholic. So you go and you know your small little community. So I knew my home parish. And I got there, and to see that I wasn't alone in my Catholic faith was a huge thing for me. So to see there were other 15, 16-year-olds that believed the same thing I believed was a huge turning point for me in my faith life. And it was okay to be Catholic, and it wasn't just something you kind of kept to yourself. As an adult, it has been amazing to me. I don't think I've ever left NCYC without saying that was amazing and that was life-changing for me. There's always, I will say, every single time a transformative moment at some point where I truly feel that I've felt Christ's presence, whether it's during adoration, during the closing liturgy, watching the young people come to know and love Jesus even more. This past NCYC was even more fascinating for me because I went not only as a diocesan director and taking young people, but for the first time I had one of my own children there. And so that was an entirely different way to see NCYC as a mom, and I hope that my oldest son was having that same experience as I had had as a teenager, and seeing it through his eyes. And then this NCYC will be even more unique because all three of my children will be there. And that is a totally different experience to go from, being in charge of everyone else's children, but also being able to watch your own children there and hope that they experience Christ just as I've experienced Christ every time that I've been there.
I would say that I definitely am in the place in my life that I am right now. Because of NCYC, I do think it has influenced some decisions that I've made. Again, it's made me a stronger Catholic altogether. So putting faith in that and decisions I've made throughout my life, I definitely can attribute a lot of what I believe into going into NCYC.
For the Diocese of Greensburg, I'm Matt Dowling.
I will definitely say that the trading game has really gone up.
But we had these awesome jackets. I still use this, and it is so handy. It's got looks like a little fanny pack, but you can unzip it. I still use this like on planes. It's a great pillow if I'm going on a trip somewhere, because it's nice and lightweight. And we have these jackets, and see, because NASA ground control or whatever was in Houston. It's kind of faded now, but it used to say, "Hello, Houston, this is the Diocese of Greensburg."
The only thing I remember from 1993 when I went is that the Region 3 had boxer shorts. We were just recently talking about 1993 NCYC, and he said, "Do you remember those boxer shorts that had the Tasmanian devil on them?" And I said, "Yeah, and do you remember how weird it was that they gave us boxer shorts to go to NCYC? We just thought it was such an odd thing to give to teenagers."
So, some friends of mine from high school, I got there, you can see all my swag bag. We've got beads and pins and all kind of fun little things, goofy glasses.
All these kinds of crazy hats, hoodies, t-shirts. So they had a towel that they were able to wave, just like, terrible towel in Pittsburgh. Although they were upset with me because I accidentally made it Colts colors. It wasn't on purpose, but we became Indianapolis Colts fans for that week while we were there.